It's 5:30.
All right. Say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll.
Okay.
Roll call.
Bryce Steiner,
Yes.
Jason Franks,
Yes.
Steve Jordan,
Yes.
Kenny Reinhardt,
Yes.
Dean Reister,
Yes.
and Brian Smith. Okay, the minutes. The regular meeting, Council of the Village of Antwerp, March 21, 2022 minutes. Any questions? Any comments? If not, anybody want to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Jason, that was you?
Yep.
Okay, okay, hold on, sorry. I'm not as quick as Amy. Okay, Steve, you second? Okay, thanks. Jason Franks,
Yes.
Steve Jordan,
Yes.
Bryce Steiner,
Yes.
Kenny Reinhardt,
Yes.
Dean Reister.
Yes.
Brian Smith.
Yes.
Okay, the financials. And I can't answer questions, but I can make notes of them.
No questions? Great.
Did you have
Moving
a
along.
question?
Need a motion?
Kenny, did you have a question?
I can't find it. I do. Right
I thought
here.
he said he, that, my bad. I thought he,
What is, this one right here on 3/3/22, $1,100.46.
Electric bill for 102 South Erie Street.
Who's the payee?
102 South Erie Street.
Yeah,
Was that the lift station?
it must be, yeah, the lift station, yeah,
We got a lift on South Erie.
yes.
Oh, you got them on stone. I don't know where it's moved out at.
It is stone.
That's
Oh, you said-
712.
Oh, yeah.
What did you say, what's the address? 102?
102 South Erie.
Okay, I'll leave a note for Amy and she can get back
Okay.
to you on that,
Right.
unless you know, Brian, before I move on.
So,
Well, I mean, it could be, where one of the meters is for the AP line.
Do we have, does it show payee, Kenny?
What's under the APE?
Oh, is it
AEP.
under the AEP?
Okay, then it's where one of the meters is located at.
So it'd be for one of the meters.
Streetlights.
right. I'll make a
Okay.
motion to approve.
A second.
Kenny Reinhardt,
Yes.
Dean Reister,
Yes.
Bryce Steiner,
Yes.
Jason Franks,
Yes.
Steve Jordan,
Yes.
Brian Smith.
yes.
Yeah.
I think.
That part.
I don't know, I guess. And I think this is what gets signed.
We'll move on to our visitors. Tim?
Yes, thank you. This is the first time I've gotten to be here in 2022, so I wanted to thank all of you for your service and what you do for the village of Antwerp. It's been a pleasure working with Antwerp, with this group, with CIC, and especially with Brian. I can't commend Brian enough for his service as a commissioner, a sitting commissioner, the knowledge that he brings to not only you in the village, but what I lean on him for around the county has been very helpful and impressive. So thank you for taking him on and doing that.
Thank you.
The signature page that I put around for you to sign for the emails is dual purpose. One is we send out a weekly email out of our office every week to update everyone on what's happening around the county, and also to sometimes kick the bear a little bit or wake up the bear to see if there's something that we can get a little bit more discussion on in depth. That doesn't always, everybody isn't always maybe in favor of, but it kind of gives us a guide of where to go and what to do going forward. So I wanted to make sure we had all your email addresses for that, and we get you on that list so that you're receiving that weekly email from our office. The second thing is, we had the Bowling Green State University Political Science Department put together a elected officials guide. And what it is we were seeing around the county at all 11 villages, not that anybody was doing anything wrong, but we saw differences in how things were being handled around the county in regard to Ohio Revised Code. So the political science team put together this packet that'll give you reasons of why you do some of the things you do. It may answer questions for you. And if you have a question of why we use Robert's rules or how we do things all the way through, that you can go in and it'll directly connect you to that Ohio Revised Code section as to how to facilitate that. So it's a 28-page document, so rather than print off one for everybody, we'll send this out to each one of you on email so that you have a copy of your own and can look through that at your convenience.
Is there a website for it, Tim?
No, the political science team put this together,
Okay.
and it's just a packet. Well, they didn't make it to the public. They just did it for the county, and we're distributing it through an email system. And I don't know if you know Esty Miller, but Esty Miller's graduated from Paulding. She was on this political science team, and this was her master's program. So she's now going to work for Maumee Valley Planning. So we'll work with her quite a bit going forward. And the last thing I wanted, tomorrow is our Career Day Showcase event over at the Paulding County Fairgrounds from 8 a.m. to noon. Would welcome any of you to come over, walk through, meet with any of our juniors and seniors through the county. If anyone, if every one of them showed up, we would introduce 42 businesses to 477 students tomorrow. So you're more than welcome to attend. It's open to the public.
And that the Career Day Showcase?
Career Day Showcase, yep. This is the first one we've been able to have in 3 years since I started because of COVID. So we're excited to bring it back to the county and excited to introduce businesses to our students again.
Okay.
Any questions for me at the Economic Development Office today? Thank you for having me in.
Thank you, Tim.
Tim, I did put my email on that, but do you mind sending me a copy of that?
Well, you missed your chance, Val, but
For $5. But don't put that in the minutes.
Thank you.
Tim doesn't give a lot of second chances.
Or stuff for free.
Oh. Thank you.
you betcha.
Okay. Tom?
Kind of along the same lines as Tim, I just want to stop in and tell everybody what we're doing with the CIC. I'm the current president right now. We're trying to get more involvement with other communities in Paulding County, not just Antwerp. We got some members now from the Plain Council on as well on our team. We got new elected officials, some new voted in board members. So we're really excited to kick off a new year of trying to help Paulding County grow. So we're working closely with Tim. I do call Brian a lot and pick his brain. So I appreciate that. We got Kenny and the mayor on our committee as well. So if there's anything you guys come across that you think we could help with, run it past them or come to one of our meetings. You can ask them when they are. Fourth Thursday of every month, 6 o'clock out at the depot. We're out there. So come by and visit. And like I said, I just wanted to thank everybody here who knows me. And
Fourth Thursday.
Sorry.
Thursday at 6.
I'm not as fast for writers meeting.
So we're just excited to kick some things off. We got some good things going in Antwerp. We got some other projects we're looking at in other communities, and it's just we're trying to be positive. So
No, it's 6 o'clock.
6
6,
o'clock.
sorry. Thank you.
And I think it's important for the council to realize that the CIC is an arm of the council that is able to buy and sell land so that it's a good working relationship when we have it all in motion. And I think for a while we were stalled out, but I think in what Tom and Denise are presenting today, bringing it back to life is a good thing. And I think that we can work together to make some good things happen. We can make quicker sales and purchases on property in the area before someone gets control of something that maybe we don't want to happen. So please keep that in mind as we're working together. And I think it's a plus that Mayor Reeb and Mr. Reinhardt are on that board too, so that they can facilitate both ways.
Thanks, Sean. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, back to Mel. George isn't here, so
Okay.
then skip over first.
Okay. Ordinance number 2022-11, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and the fiscal officer to enter into a contract with Crane Township for providing emergency medical service in calendar
Thank you,
years
thank you.
2023, 2024, 2025, and 2026. And this is the third and final reading of that one.
Just one thing, did
Yeah.
Denise have something to say?
She was with the CIC. I think.
You're only with,
I'm
okay,
sorry.
okay, I didn't know if there was anything else besides the CIC,
Well,
okay.
I was
yeah,
going by
sorry.
my agenda, they're supposed to be on the agenda, and I assumed you were with
I
Tom.
was just, yep, I'm just here
Yeah.
observing.
I'll make
Okay.
a motion to approve 2022-11.
I'll second that.
Bryce Steiner,
Yes.
Dean Reister,
Yes.
Jason Franks,
Yes.
Steve Jordan,
Yes.
Kenny Reinhardt,
Yes.
Brian Smith.
Yes.
Okay, so that's passed. And we'll do the contract at the end of the meeting, if that's okay. I'll just have you sign that one. We're getting really messed up. Okay. Ordinance number 2022-12, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and the fiscal officer to enter into a contract with Harrison Township for providing emergency medical service in calendar years 2023, 2024, 2025, and 2026. Again, this is a third and final reading.
I'll make a motion to approve 2022-12 for Harrison EMS contract.
Yeah, I will second that.
Bryce Steiner,
Yes.
Kenny Reinhardt,
Yes.
Jason Franks,
Yep.
Steve Jordan,
Yes.
Dean Reister,
Yes.
and Brian Smith.
Yes.
All right, ordinance number 2022-13, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and the fiscal officer to enter into a contract with Carryall Township for providing emergency medical service in calendar years 2023, 2024, 2025, and 2026. Again, this is the third and final reading.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Jason Franks,
Yes.
Steve Jordan,
Yeah.
Bryce Steiner,
Yes.
Kenny Reinhardt,
Yes.
Dean Reister,
Yes.
and Brian Smith.
Yes.
Next one is ordinance number 2022-14, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and the fiscal officer to enter into a contract with Harrison Township for providing fire protection services in calendar years 2023, 2024, 2025, and 2026. Again, third and final reading.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Bryce Steiner,
Yes.
Kenny Reinhardt,
Yes.
Jason Franks,
Yes.
Steve Jordan,
Yes.
Dean Reister,
Yes.
and Brian Smith.
Yes.
Okay. The next one is just a first reading. It's resolution number 2022-03, a resolution to proceed with submission of the question of levying a tax that is a renewal of an existing levy in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the purpose of providing and maintaining fire protection and emergency medical services, RC sections 5705.03, 5705.19 subsection I, 5705.191, 5705.192, and 5705.25. So this is, if you remember, we did 3 readings. The council passed at the last meeting to, ask the county auditor to, certify, the, current tax valuation on a 1 mil limitation. That was sent to Amy prior to today's meeting. So it's all set forth in the resolution, but the estimated property, tax gross revenue, is calculated to be $20,814. So that is set forth at the bottom of page 3. If you'll see that at the second bullet point, that is what would be generated by the 1 mil levy.
That's renewal.
This is a renewal.
Yep.
And this would start in 2023, first collected in 2024 for a 5-year period.
Okay.
So that's just the first reading, but that's the information on that. The next one is resolution number 2022-04, a resolution supporting the Holly Beach Splash Pad project by Antwerp Community Development Committee, Inc., and granting permission for the construction and installation of a splash pad at Riverside Veterans Memorial Park and declaring the same an emergency.
Okay, I have some questions about this. This piece of paper that we were provided does not show anything except elevations and water lines.
Yeah, I did talk to Brian about that as
There's
well.
nothing that shows where the project is intended to go. Also, I'm concerned that why is this an emergency? Also, it sounds like it's granting AC/DC to go ahead with a project that we really don't have any plans on. So even, I'm in favor of Holly Beach Splash Pad, but I don't want this to end up like some of the projects in the past. And so I'm a little bit hesitant on going with this as an emergency on this. Go
You're gonna
ahead.
have to explain to me what projects are you referring to in the past?
The colony that we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on, of taxpayer dollars, and we just finished paying it off last year, and we still have no colony after 15 years. That would be one example. The other thing is some of the stuff that happened during the construction of the Veterans Memorial, where we had stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3, which wasn't all the way planned out, and then we had to go back and tear some stuff out and redo it because it was added later. I would like to see solid plans into effect so we know what we're getting into and what the cost is going to be to the taxpayer after this project is turned over from AC/DC, or however this is going to work. There's very little information in this ordinance that says how this is going to partake after this is done. I want some details here before this is an emergency. Also, we have some conflicts here with Maria Kobe being on the park board and head of the nonprofit organization that she would want to grant herself. I have nothing wrong with Maria, but we have an ethics issue, especially because we took Mark Greenwood off the board. Did you contact him like we talked about
No, I
last
didn't,
week?
Bryce, and I told you I wasn't going to.
I thought you
He
told me
did
that we
not,
were.
no.
Because he thought he was still on it.
His time was up. He never contacted me wanting to stay on. He never said a word. I replaced him.
Okay.
You came to me about him.
That's
Mark
right,
has
because
never come
Mark
to
came to me thinking he was still on it.
He should have come to me then.
Right, and that's why I came to you. I was his.
He should have come
But
to
in the
me.
meantime, what I'm saying is we have an ethics issue. We can't have the same person on the nonprofit who's granting themselves access to the Riverside Park at the public property. Now,
Well,
yeah, you see this, sure. And the same way here, we'd have to recuse ourselves. Anybody who's on the Holly Covey board could not vote to grant themselves access to the park, even in here.
Which is, he's directed, that's why he keeps looking at
to
me.
you.
That's
Yeah, I
right.
know,
That's
right.
exactly right, Brian. And I have nothing against
You're
you.
good, Bryce, I don't need to hear it, you're good. You're good.
It's just I want to make sure that what we're doing is correct, because I'm a financial supporter of this. I just do not want to make sure that we end up with another colony problem. that taxpayers just finished paying off. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm not in favor of this until I get some details, especially as an emergency.
So could you just outline what details you're looking for so they can provide them then?
Yes, I want a plan. I want to see where it's going. I want to see what kind of cost this is going to cost our taxpayers in the future. This is, like I said, I'm in complete favor of the splash pad. I just want to make sure that, being that we've talked about ethics in the past, that this is taken care of and done properly. And there's nothing wrong with, you know, Brian being on both, or Maria, but I do think Mark Green would be an excellent asset back on that park board, considering he's the best volunteer we have.
Bryce, he has never come to me and requested to be back on the park board. I told you, his time was up. I never heard anything from him. I put a new member on. You are the only one that has come to tell me that Mark wants on the park board. If Mark wants on it,
So you,
have him
okay,
come.
so me coming to you isn't worth anything?
Why didn't he come? He's
He
a big
came
boy
to
if he
me.
wants to talk.
He came to the wrong person.
Maybe.
You're nothing on the park board. You
You're
don't
right.
assign these
You're right.
committees.
You're right. But you put like Mike, who's not on council anymore. Why not put Mark Greenwood, who is the best volunteer we have?
Mike,
Isn't Mike Roars on it?
On what?
on the
park
park board?
No,
No.
Oh,
Keith is. Keith's been on
Keith
it.
West is on the
I'm
park
sorry
board.
then.
He's
Yeah,
been
I
on it
apologize
for
then.
years.
but no, I want details of what this is going to cost, and I want plans before we say give the go ahead. I mean, this is just logical.
Well, my point is, if Mark is this interested and upset that I replaced him,
No, I'm just saying
He can
I
come
want
to me
somebody
anytime
else,
he
a third
wants.
party in here who really does this stuff well. He is excellent.
and I never said he didn't. His
I'm just saying,
time was
we-
up.
Well, like Maria can't do both because it's a conflict. So why not have Mark on it? He wants the project too, but he is really on the ball on this engineering stuff. Somebody who has just excellent credibility on this.
And I never said he didn't do a good job. I said his time expired.
Okay, no, and I
I
got you.
replaced him.
I
I
understand
never
that.
heard anything from him. If he'd have come and said, "Hey, I'd like to stay on," I'd said, "Great."
No, that's
He didn't.
and that's fine. That's fine. But just, you know, we've got an ethics issue.
Well, I didn't really see it that way, Bryce. I'm
Can you
sorry.
imagine if you had a say a church, you wanted to build something right there, and you had the pastor on there and vote himself to do this kind of stuff? That would be just as wrong. This is public property we're talking about. To giving it to a nonprofit foundation.
Maria
essentially.
isn't personally profiting from this.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
She doesn't, I mean, it's up to council to vote for it, though, right? I mean,
And
it lies with us.
that's
So-
fine. Okay.
I have a question. This resolution was brought to the council in an emergency. What is the emergency? I
They're
know-
gonna be receiving state funding, and the problem is, in order for them to go out and do quotes, do purchase orders, do all these things, in alliance with state funding, they have to do it in short term. It's problematic when you have to do 3 readings, because you're in essence 4 months out before you get the permission. So that's why it's an emergency. To facilitate them to be able to do the things they need to do and to know where it is going to be sited.
To get the grant, don't they also have to have the complete plans ready to submit?
No.
Something that we should be able to see?
No, that's not to say they don't have them, but I've received that same grant with nothing more than a Word document that I created. So it's not as difficult as one would assume,
Okay,
so.
okay.
But I know that they are doing, and Brian might be able to speak better to this and stuff, but I know that they're doing architectural plans. They've identified and they located the place in the park They had it marked.
Where's that at?
It's,
Where's the plans?
I don't know where the plans are
Okay, because this is what we had gotten.
at. I understand what you got.
Okay,
I facilitated that.
because, yeah, without the plans, there's no way I can vote to approve construction on it.
I can't give you what I don't have.
And I wouldn't expect you to.
What kind of time frame do they need, Brian? It's an emergency, but how quickly? They don't have 4
need to
months.
get around, they need to get around as soon as they get word from the state, which should be in the month of May. And they need to cut a purchase order for the actual equipment. So, within
no.
30 days or less.
So they don't have the 4 months.
No.
So your options are, you can pass as emergency, we can do a first reading tonight, you can always have a special meeting, just because you do a first reading doesn't mean it can't turn into an emergency reading on the second reading. You know, if you wanted to set a special meeting to get more information, you have options, it's up to all of you though, how you wanna proceed.
I know a lot of this started in the old council, and we have a lot of new members on this council. And we did have them lay out where they intended putting it, and we went and looked at it and thought it was a good location and things like that. So that's why we've kind of moved forward with saying, yeah, we're pretty well in support of where it's gonna go. I've had questions myself on about who's going to fund it after it's done and things like that too, but I was a little surprised that I seen this resolution come in as an emergency this month. I thought we was still gonna be looking for more information from the committee that was building it, you know, with documentation or whatever on plans and stuff like that too. I'm not against passing it as an emergency because I know where they're gonna put it. But at the same time, if we could come up with some, I don't know if they have anything established yet.
I can ask Dustin, he's been working on it. The problem becomes that it's waiting on the state. And then the state, we were going to move ahead without the state. Like, we came up with a plan to earn it all our own. Because if you've noticed how much money they've been bringing in with these fundraisers, like we could do it without the state. Then the state kind of fell into that hurdle, got to the point where they decided they wanted to do something, and they called us an off. And I don't know all the details. Again, I'm the marketing guy on the committee, so I'm not the built this guy. That's Dustin, who came in and talked to us.
Absolutely.
So when the $125,000 came in from the state, then that changed all this.
Okay.
That's why I think this became an emergency, because in order to get it through, to get the funding, to do all that stuff. And Brian knows more about that, and Dustin would be happy to come in and talk if there's questions. I think nobody knew that there was all these questions, because again, we had talked about the prior committee, everybody knew where it's going. They did the soil sample, they did, they've done everything we've asked them to do, they've done. So that's why we're at the point where we're at. And I didn't know that it was going to be an emergency, but I assume that's because, again, working with the state funding, which is something completely out of our control. So if you wait 4 months and it messes up the state funding or whatever, then so be it. We'll earn the money without it. Not a problem. But if, that's, I think, what this is to get past that hurdle.
Kind of helps secure the paperwork for the state funding and stuff to give passage.
Well, it gives them the ability to know they have a site location. It gives them the ability, as soon as the state, you cannot go out and solicit bids or spend funds in advance of grants being received. Otherwise, they're not eligible.
Okay.
So as soon as the state notifies them in writing that they've secured X amount of money, they can go immediately and they can start the process. And that's what they're trying to line up so that they can do that. Waiting on us for 4 months to pass an ordinance is problematic for them.
Yeah, and I can understand that.
Let me ask another question then on this. Can we reword this to where it doesn't give permission for construction or installation, but does set aside a designated area?
Where would the value be in that?
Because I'm not going to pass it.
Here's a piece of land, but you can't build on it?
No, it
You just said
doesn't.
it doesn't give you the rights to site and build.
No, because then in 3 or 4 months, we can say, yes, this looks great. And we have multiple people look at it that says, yes, hey, yes, this looks good. Maybe we want 3 foot of concrete right here because we want to have an entryway instead of having to tear it out because we only put 6 inches of concrete. No, just something that says yes, they have permission to use this land when, and then we can approve the construction and the installation after we evaluate, and they get the information that they need, the Holly Covey Foundation. That way we're not putting all our eggs in one resolution here.
Well, I guess you just need to give me a list of what you want, and I'll ask the foundation if they can provide the information.
No, can we reword this right here? Okay, let's get rid of the word construction and installation and change it to the land that has been designated, and they have that, authorization to, that we can do it, so the land, that way this can move forward, but we're not saying that, oh yes, this construction is great, and then we find out that that it's not.
So we'll do
Great.
another ordinance giving them permission to build?
Well, even here's, one down the road after we get more plans, because, we don't have the plans here to approve, and I would hate to just say, well, you can do whatever you want, here's the land.
I'd be okay with it being a first reading and giving them time to give us plans to,
I would too. Make a motion.
I'll make a motion to change this to a first reading.
And I will
And
second that.
if they need us to do a special meeting, I would be willing to do that. To get them, so they have approval in the time frame that they need it.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Then if you just want to come up with a list of what you want to know so that we can give it to them, and so that we can provide the information that you would like, that way we got it, so.
Okay.
All right, so I have a motion made by Jason Franks to make resolution number 2022-04 a first reading rather than an emergency reading, and Kenny Reinhardt has seconded that. Did I state that correctly?
Yes.
All right. Jason Franks,
Yes.
Kenny Reinhardt,
Yes.
Bryce Steiner,
Yes.
Steve Jordan,
Yes.
Dean Reister,
Yes.
and Brian Smith.
Yep.
So as this goes, now that this is now a first reading, if they can get something to satisfy this council, we could do it in an emergency at a special meeting.
Yeah, like I said, I just need to know what boxes we need to check so that we can move forward, so.
So, you guys all know what you need now?
Do we
Not at
know?
all. I mean,
I sent Dustin a text and asked if he has architectural prints completed yet. I know they're doing them, I
Okay.
just don't know where they're at
Okay.
as far as process.
Do we know what the deadline is for this grant?
There's no deadline for the grant. It's
Oh.
been submitted, no, it's been submitted. And when the Senate approves it, they'll notify those who are receiving funding from that grant. So there's not a deadline per se. I mean, they met the deadline of submittal. That's what a grant is. So after that, you just wait to get a phone call, or
But-
wait to get a letter, or
Okay,
email.
there wasn't a deadline for the grant submission though, or?
There was a
There
deadline. for
was,
grant
and that's
submission.
already taken place?
That's already taken, come and gone.
Oh, okay,
That was a couple weeks ago.
okay.
Good.
Do you guys want me to move on to the next one?
Sure.
Are we
Yes.
done? Okay, I didn't wanna.
So the wording
interrupt.
stayed the same,
Yeah.
and it became a first and not an emergency.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next one is resolution number 2022-05. A resolution electing the quote standard allowance close quote of up to $10 million as the amount of revenue lost for the use of funds for the provision of government services under section 603C1C of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 and declaring the same an emergency.
How do we determine what we've lost from COVID?
We don't have to. Under the federal rules, they assume anyone who received, that is a political subdivision, that received any COVID funds whatsoever, no matter what the dollar amount is, they can take the loss equal to, up to, but not exceeding 10 million. So we don't have to prove anything. We just accept it and move on.
This was something that we talked about in our committee meeting of the ARPS funds, and we had a discussion about that, and our committee had come to the consensus that we should just move forward with this and go ahead and get the money moved into our general fund.
The
All
background
this
is,
does is elect that standard allowance. That's all this resolution does.
but then we will go, after this is passed, then we will go and we'll do a fund transfer where we will take those funds and we will move them. They ultimately will reside in our general fund. So what happened was when the federal government wrote the standard, wrote the rules, they did 400 pages and they realized they made it almost impossible to spend the money. So they came out with a scaled down 40-page of rules and this $10 million allowance. So the benefit is, instead of us having to file every time we use ARPA funds, we can put in the general funds, we file one time under this $10 million rule, and then we don't have to file any others.
It
So,
still has to be used for the approved governmental service.
which is
allowed
a
under the
huge,
Act.
which is a lot larger plethora of things. Anything government service related. Okay, so I mean, if we want to go
So
out,
general fund, like you said.
it goes in the general fund. So if we wanted to go out and do a sidewalk,
So
Now
what,
it's legal
what kind
to
of
do that.
funding are we, it says up to 10 million. Are we looking at getting $5 or are we looking at
188,000.
188,000?
And that's
Okay.
over a 2 years period of time.
Okay, thank you.
So what are you asking for?
It's an
We need-
emergency.
We
need
need
a
a motion
resolution.
just to suspend the rules.
I will make a motion to suspend the rules.
I'll second.
Kenny Reinhardt,
Yes.
Steve Jordan,
Yeah.
Bryce Steiner,
Yeah.
Jason Franks,
Yes.
Dean Reister,
Yes.
Brian Smith.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we pass resolution 22205.
I'll second that.
Kenny Reinhardt,
Yes.
Dean Reister,
Yes.
Bryce Steiner,
Yeah.
Jason Franks,
Yes.
Steve Jordan,
Yeah.
Brian Smith.
Yep.
Okay, the next one is a first reading.
Wait,
It's
did we actually approve that one or did we just approve
Yeah, we
suspending
did
the
both.
rules?
No, because Kenny voted in favor of
Okay.
suspending the rules.
And then
Steve seconded it, and then to pass it was Kenny, and then Dean seconded it.
Okay, okay,
Unless I missed something, that's what I
That's
have in
what
my
I,
notes.
that's what I recall.
Okay,
okay.
That's what I recall.
but thank you. I mean, please pay attention to what I'm doing. I might miss something. So thanks. I mean, please do that. Okay. This is a first reading. Ordinance number 2022-15. An ordinance amending ordinance number 2010-16, an ordinance to retain the services of a zoning inspector for the village of Antwerp, Paulding County, Ohio, specifically to amend such ordinance to provide a one-time payment on completion of zoning ordinance update.
Is this the one that's for Ole's place out here? Is that what we're talking about? Not that one?
No, we haven't made it to that one yet. That'll be an emergency motion. And that's the
Okay.
next one. Okay. It's the last one too. Good. Okay. Ordinance number 2022-16. An ordinance accepting the final plat of the Monty Landing subdivision, Phase 10, Lot 24, to the addition to the village of Antwerp, Paulding County, Ohio, pursuant to ordinance number 94-17, and declaring the same an emergency.
Make a motion to suspend the rules to have 3 readings.
I will second.
Dean Reister,
Yes.
Kenny Reinhardt,
Yes.
Bryce Steiner,
No.
Jason Franks,
Yes.
Steve Jordan,
Yes.
and Brian Smith.
Yes.
Okay, so it passes.
So just one question. What is it about this one that makes it an emergency?
Yeah, tell them how.
Well, the simple fact is the person wants to take possession of the lot and begin building the house.
Do we
I
have
mean,
to
he
do,
sold the lot.
Okay.
do we have to do this for every lot that
Every
sells it?
final plat, you guys all
Every
approved the
final plat.
preliminary plat years ago, but every time a final plat is done, it needs done at council per that ordinance 94-17.
Okay,
The reason he didn't have the whole final plat approved at once is so that way for real estate tax purposes, it would stay as undeveloped.
Agricultural.
okay. And do we need to look at Exhibit A? Because I noticed that wasn't with this.
It's right here. And
All
we
right.
can look at that and pass that around.
Okay.
I'll let you guys look at that before I
Yes,
do.
it's not that I don't want to vote on it yet. I just,
No,
wanna
that's
see
okay,
what
I'm
I'm
just
voting
gonna
on.
wait for you guys to do that before we do the next step.
And which property is it that's selling?
It's phase 10, lot 24.
And so every time that, from 2008 on, anytime a lot sold, it was just one thing that had to come through
Just to
again.
approve the final plat, yes.
Okay,
Preliminary plat was approved back in 08.
okay.
Does he have? any-
Actually 06, and then it was,
Was it 06?
And then amended in 08
Yeah.
or something. Okay,
I mean, if council wanted to be cool, we could make them do 3 readings and make them wait 120 days to start
But
building.
we don't wanna do that.
no,
may
you should
lose
be
the sale.
happy.
No, man, I don't want anyone messing with my building permit.
if it's for Ole though, we can do anything. We can
Anybody
make it,
else wanna look at that?
tell them in this case we'll do 10 readings.
Put that back.
That's a,
Amy,
it'll be available 26.
Whenever we're ready.
I'll make a motion to pass.
Oh, I would love to tell him.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Steve, thanks. Dean Reister.
Yes.
Steve Jordan.
Yeah.
Bryce Steiner.
Yes.
Jason Franks.
Yes.
Kenny Reinhardt.
Yes.
And Brian Smith.
Yes.
Okay. Let me see if there's anything else. Oh, this, the draw the winner thing is next on it. April was supposed to bring you that. Okay. I guess we move on to.
We could probably do a drawing, put it on our Facebook and our website
Yeah,
or something
that's
like that.
fine. I don't think I have anything else unless I'm missing something. I don't think so. I don't have a reader report.
No, just got one.
Okay, I just wanna make sure I wasn't missing anything. I don't have one. I wasn't given one.
I don't either.
Okay.
Let's backtrack.
Do you want
George
me to
is
go
here
look,
now.
do you want me to go
Talk to
look
us.
in her cover thing and see if there's one in there while George presents?
Okay.
Anybody have any questions?
Thanks for passing out Easter eggs. Appreciate that.
Very nice.
Cool.
Yeah,
thing.
I said, Justin, next year we put them together at the depot to help you out. I'll buy pizza.
Yeah, good job.
No, okay.
Maybe it was something I was supposed to do.
No, I feel like I was something I was supposed to do, but I can't remember what, so.
Is there anything for George? Okay, thank you, George. Okay. EMS report. Everybody have time to look that
Brian
over?
Davis. Sorry, Brian. Sorry, Brian. We put 2 Brians together. The lights are working, I noticed, on East River.
Yep.
So,
I come in early one morning, so I'm,
yeah.
there was one out, but they were supposed to change the bulb.
Did we ever figure out why they was out completely?
We have a fuse box problem. And evidently a couple of years ago got hit or something.
I think it was
Curses
last
somewhere.
spring, there was one hit by the park.
Yeah, it's the one down by the park. We doing an EMS report or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, it's got a short and sweet. Interesting, I got an email and a link from a gentleman named David Smith, and he's with a company called Kleinfelder, and they now either acquired Polgemeyer, merged with them, whatever the case may be. But I opened up the link, and when I opened it up, it was a map of the village, and it had all the water lines. And I thought, well, this is kind of neat. So I called Curtis, I said, come on down here. I said, have you ever seen this? He goes, well, I've got one. What they were telling us was the link that they had provided us back like in 16 was no longer active. And so
Was no
when
longer what?
no longer active. So when you clicked on it, there would nothing would be there.
Oh, I see, okay.
So then it went from, he looked at it and he said, well, it's more detailed than what I've got. So then I called this guy up and I said, look, I don't know anything. I can tell you right now. But I said, here's the question. So I started asking questions. I said, you guys have done a tremendous amount of work for the village over the years. You've created all kinds of maps. Do you have access to the data? And if you do, can you put the data on this map? And the guy goes, yeah, I just gotta figure out what we have, you know, sewer, whatever the case may be. And so he's gonna look at that. So then we got to talking and I said, is there any way that I can, or somebody can manipulate the data that's on the map? He says, yes, but he says you have to have, well, basically you have to buy a program, a license. And he recommended one that's $700 a year. And then you could go in and you can manipulate the data, you can create layers. So you can have a layer that's fire hydrants, a layer that's sewer, a layer that's water. So we were looking at that, and then he said, but what you want to get is you want to get this one device, it's $6,000, but when you're standing at a device, say a water meter, you have this pole, you can go to water meter, you push the button, it GPSes it within inches, and it flows right onto your map. So we can do our water lines, our sewer lines, all the stuff that we have in paper, that, you know, this is in Pudge's head, wherever it may lie, we can actually for about, well, $6,000, there's no reoccurring costs for the equipment, and then $700 a year user fee to access and manipulate the data and everything on this program. And so I just wanted to make you aware, but we're looking at whether or not,
How up to date is this?
how up to date is what?
What he has?
What he has is what would be the last drawing. But as an example, if Curtis wanted to take a nice afternoon and go out and mark every water meter in town, he could do it just by walking and touching, walk and touch, walk and touch.
Gee, we paid for that years ago.
Correct.
Yes.
And that's what we have. But he said even looking at this map, there are things that are not actually where they say they are. They're not whatever happened. You know, they say there's a meter here and there's not a meter there or whatever. But
We
What was the
paid
name of this
Programmer years ago.
Kleinfeld. Let me make sure of that. Yeah, Kleinfeld, all one word. Felder. Felder.
KLINE?
Yes, Klein. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
EIN.
And
Got
we're
it.
messing this all up.
That's all right, just so I got it right in the minutes.
So we're looking at, you know, we do have ARPS fund that will be in the general fund and stuff, and we're looking at the possibility of actually purchasing this device and doing this.
Was this a subcontractor of Pogemeyer that created this?
No, the gentleman actually works for this group. He's a design engineer for, I don't know if he was with Polgemeyer or with this Kleinfelder group, but he's still there. And he said, I'll be more than happy to set up the layers for you and everything. And stuff. He was really a nice guy.
I know we need to do something, it seems to me, to get the village mapped out better on where our utilities and stuff are.
Can you see that before you pay any money for this?
Can I
Can
see
you
what?
see it before you buy it?
Yeah, see it before you buy it?
He wants to see it in action,
No,
Oh.
maybe.
see, we paid big money for Programmer to do that years ago, and then he never did produce it. Right?
Well, what he sent is what you paid money for several years ago. The problem is you have to do, I think it's every 5 years you have to do what's the study? I forget. But it is one of the elements that drive your cost. Well, now we can actually have them go out, like if they have a water main break, they can actually GPS that, put it on that map and say, water main break on this date and time. Because it has call outs and stuff. They can keep all this data. If you go into Curtis's office, he's got volumes of stuff written down on paper that's been handed down over the years. It needs to be converted to a digital format. I do have this map. I sent it to Maumee Valley, and they should have ink tomorrow for their plotter, and they're plotting it. They'll do 4 maps, but there's all different colors. You can do grayscales. You can do all kinds of stuff with this thing. It's pretty slick.
You know, if something happened to Pudge, we'd be screwed.
We're gonna have a real
You know,
problem.
he knows stuff that nobody
Yep.
else knows.
Who did that?
Exactly right.
Pudge can't.
Pudge
Oh, yeah.
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 And stuff. So I think for the, you know, for the cost, and Curtis is talking to a gentleman that did all of the work for the solar field, came in and looked for water lines, looked for electrical, anything that may be buried. And I guess they have technology where they can basically drive the vehicle down the road and they can tell you where anything that's buried, they can tell you what it is and where it is. He said, he says, yeah, we can do it. He says, I'm just not sure what the cost would be. I had to believe the cost would be a lot.
Yeah. Well, you know what the cost of the bridge is.
He's supposed to be getting us a price, but I'm sure it's tens of thousands of dollars. Yes.
Brian, I've noticed that we have blue flags up along with the yellow ones. Are those, somebody's getting water lines? Is that what that is?
No, they're running fiber.
I saw the fiber ones, but those are a different color, aren't they? Or they just run out of one color of the flags?
I don't know. I haven't paid attention to
Maybe
the
think
colors and
that
stuff.
somebody was.
It could be that the
doing
yellows are
water.
marking like gas lines or something like that. Stuff, but
So how are they coming with that? Half done, you don't know, whatever.
I've not spoken with them
Okay.
and stuff. Once in a while, the guy that runs the operation stops by, but I haven't seen him for a few weeks. And stuff. They're trying to get it done as quick as they can. They seem to be making good headway. Some of the other things we're looking at doing is, we bought a device to do the, like striping for parking and things like that, and we're gonna start doing that again. Gonna try to do things in-house versus paying others to do it. We bought a
Somebody
dump-
wanted $6,000, didn't they, to strike?
Oh, probably.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Somebody.
I mean, we spent, I don't know, 4,000, something like that, last summer when they did River Street with the county. Maybe it was 6,000, I think it was, once the footage was off. But anyways, we're looking at doing things like that, filling the potholes ourselves. We're gonna look at doing some painting in the park on a lot of the building structures and stuff. They need to be power washed and they need to be painted. Just trying to do things in-house, utilize the staff that we have and reduce the costs so that we can buy things that we truly actually need. I mean, a pothole's a pothole's a pothole. Fill it this year, you're gonna fill it next year, so we can do it cost effective. I've checked with the county will assist us in getting hot mix, and we can use the old F-250 to take and get the hot mix and bring it in, and
Do we still have a Bobcat?
we have it, yeah,
We use it to push snow.
we're in need of tires, we're gonna have to buy those stuff, but that's generally what's going on here in the village, other than the day-to-day operations.
That map that you talked about, that's information only right now. I mean, you just informing us.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Is anyone opposed to, I'm not asking for a motion, but opposed to buying the equipment and stuff if we decide to move forward?
What equipment?
The device that does the GPS, that sites,
And how much is that?
$6,000.
I think it would be a good investment, especially because Pudge isn't getting any younger.
You're right about that.
Neither is his equipment.
You're right about that.
Does that take much training to get, how to work at?
Evidently not, which I was kind of surprised.
Yeah.
It's, I think you just power it on, you pick the layer that you're on. If you're, doing water, you hit water, and you stand there and you push the button and it captures it and sends it right to your map.
Those wires, they'll do that, they'll find, you never heard
Oh,
of
yeah.
the wires?
The witching sticks.
I saw them out in the church parking lot the churchyard the other day
Oh,
using
yeah?
it.
Yeah.
Yep, it works. Curtis was. Yeah. That's all I have to report. Any questions, anything you need done? I shouldn't have asked if there's anything you need done. Any questions? I retract the last part.
Going digital is a great idea.
Well, we don't really have a choice. It's, people call up and ask me about zoning, and I try to find the streets on the map that doesn't have names on it, and it's a little problematic. And this map actually can be shared on our website if we wanted to.
Okay. Do we have any committee reports tonight? Meetings?
Yeah. You got one?
Well, no, we have that, zoning meeting coming up. Yeah, we don't know about that, okay.
What committee, Dean, so I can know that?
The financial committee met. And we looked at what we've got with the police department, and George is having trouble getting reserves to cover shifts. So the notion is to consolidate the reserves fund and possibly restrict hours in some of the other positions of the police department to try to generate the revenue to give George the authority to hire a third full-time police officer. So we looked through it, and we looked through some literature. Actually, I guess I thought this was gonna be in your packets, but it might not be.
It
is.
It is. You did get the information in your packets. It might not have been in mine because they already knew I had it. But there was a couple different salaries we talked about. The green top line is for what it would cost the village to employ a full-time officer at those particular salaries that's shown on the two different sheets. You can see that it's above the $70,000 range per year, and that would be with benefits and the uniforms and all that stuff, and the pension and the salary and stuff like that. And then as you can go down, you'll see what he has got estimated for reserves budget, adding that back in towards the full-time, and then having Victoria possibly cut her administrative hours down to help alleviate the additional cost of having a full-time officer. So we kind of looked at it and we talked about, you know, with everything that's going on in the village and the fact that George won't be with us forever. We're thinking that we need to give him permission to start looking to see if he can find a full-time officer. The blue line on the right would be an added increase to the police budget, and this is just a pretty decent estimate of what those costs would be, as you would say, a ballpark figure. So we as a committee looked at it. We didn't think that if it all works out, it would probably be in our best interest to go ahead and give George the authority to look for another full-time officer. So that was our committee report from the financials. So I guess at that point, we would need a motion to allow George to do that.
Dean, what's the difference between this blue line on this sheet that both says police salaries and benefits and the blue line on this sheet that says Antwerp police salaries and benefits?
The blue lines are based off the salary. So like this one is 38,000. So the bigger number, the 20,000, is based on a $38,000 salary, and the other one's based on a $35,000 salary.
Yeah.
So that's where the numbers.
Okay,
That's why we kind of based it as the
Okay.
$35,000 salary or a $38,000 salary.
okay.
And I think we figured out 35,000 was like $16 an hour or something. So it's a matter of if he can find somebody that's going to want to work, and most of it will probably be weekends in theory. So that's why there's the 35 to 38 range. So it kind of gives them a little wiggle room on actually finding somebody that is willing to do it and can do it for that cost or whatever.
Yeah, the benefit package is pretty enticing on that thing. That's about the only thing that's really going for that.
But right now they only have 2 full-time, and we were talking in that meeting that most places average 1 officer per 600 to 650 village people. So you figure we're at 1,700. We're kind of where we need to. We're in theory we're growing. We want to keep growing.
We're looking at more. We're hoping we can get more people, but you know, just I forget where my train of thought was going here. With we're borderline on that third person just with population. Just as an average on Ohio, I did a little research on it, and just for communities around our area or in our size, I should say, it come up to around 600, 650 persons per officer.
Mm-hmm.
So we're over that with 2 full-time. He's been doing his best to get the reserves, but the reserves, it's not real enticing for them just to come in and work on weekends and stuff too. So then he ends up covering the shifts or whatever it needs to be to make sure that we've got the coverage. So we're just trying to help alleviate a little bit of the strain off George and Damien for full-time, and not have him rely so much on constantly trying to contact a reserve to find somebody to cover a shift.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's not like we're going to add the whole package on top of the budget. You know, with the cut in the reserves, I think takes care of a lot of it.
Well, we would ask for a 1 mil levy then.
That the levy is coming up on a ballot, I believe.
This is
It's a
One of
renewal,
those.
right?
It's a, I think, yeah, I can't remember
This
what we
says
called
add
it.
an additional 1 mil levy.
I think that was, some information if we decided to add a levy.
That would be in 23, I think, if that levy was gonna be added.
Yeah, so there's the 2.0, that's a 5-year, and that renews in 2023. There's also the continuing levy that's from 1984, and that's a 5.5 mil that generates 68,000. So
That one never changes.
yeah, that's like grandfathered in, don't touch it type of thing.
Yeah.
Which is the number at the top of that sheet. I guess you guys do have that too. So
And when that levy was passed, it was adequate for what we were doing, but it was passed in 84 and things have gone up, so.
And then we had talk about possibly asking for another 1 mil levy on a ballot.
Well, actually, that amount has gone up too, because it's based upon your property values, which have increased since '84. So I
No.
think hasn't it?
The continuing levy
Yeah,
never goes any higher than the year it was passed.
well, then you're right.
Yeah, so you're still drawing 1984 money,
And George is still getting paid at 1984 wages?
85.
85, we
There's the
updated.
problem.
Okay, okay.
Isn't there a difference between a renewal and a replacement?
Yes,
I'm sorry?
Renewal and a replacement, you can raise that, right, with a replacement?
Right.
Levy?
And a
Renewal is
renewal.
that you're accepting what you currently have.
Right, and a replacement, yeah,
Replacement would be if you're changing the millage.
right.
So if you look at like what we passed tonight, the resolution on the one that's the fire protection emergency medical services, this is a form that's provided by I think the state auditor. But, type of levy, you can do an additional renewal, you can do an increase or decrease, and replacement levy, you can do an increase or decrease. On that one, obviously, it's just a renewal, we were leaving it at the same rate, so that's why there's nothing else
Right.
checked.
and I think we said that we didn't want to mess with the 2023 one
No,
because we don't want to lose that renewal. So they were going to add like an additional one.
well, we was gonna see how this all worked out and who you had to pay, and then if his budget was falling, then we was gonna have to consider adding another, either renewing and changing one of them, or adding one to, and put it back on the ballot too.
Yeah, that was still kind of
Increase
iffy to
funds.
see what played out.
So right now, there's nobody in line. We're not exactly sure what the total expenses are. Right now, we're just kind of trying to give George some permission to start looking and say we are in favor of a third full-time officer for the village. And then that'll give George the go ahead to try to find somebody, and then we can kind of figure out what it is he's gonna need to get somebody.
George, do you have somebody in mind? No? Okay.
So what we want tonight is, that's the finance committee recommendation, we want council approval.
Yeah, the finance
Correct.
committee recommends that the council approve George seeking a third full-time
I'll make a
officer.
motion.
I'll second.
And the motion is to authorize George,
To
Sorry.
seek a full-time officer, third full-time officer. And this is a position that we used to have a third full-time, I guess, and it was like in 2005, we used to have 3 full-time.
did you want anything, sorry, go ahead, did you want anything on the range of salary in the motion?
I don't know if we wanna put anything in
Okay.
on that yet. George kinda knows where he's supposed to be
Okay.
with the literature that we've got in the packet, so.
And we told him to if he finds somebody that's perfect for everything and will do what we want him to do, and it's a little bit more, whatever, that we're happy to,
Negotiate.
like look into that. So that way, because obviously with 35 to 38, it kind of it could limit what he could find, so.
So I have a motion to authorize Chief Clemens to seek, the employment of a third full-time police officer, does that sound correct?
Mm-hmm.
And Bryce, you made the motion, did somebody second? Jason did. Okay, Bryce Steiner,
Yes.
Jason Franks,
Yes.
Steve Jordan,
Yes,
Kenny Reinhardt,
Yes,
Dean Reister,
Yes.
and Brian Smith.
Yes.
And when we was saying that, I forget what we said the first time we talked, we was saying that position went away in 2005, and I forget why we had said it went, we don't know if it was funding.
And it was close to where we were.
Shaking his head, yeah.
Was it
It's
funding?
close to where we were going in the fiscal watch.
Okay, that's right, yeah.
If my
I
brain
remember
is
somebody
connecting
saying
right, around
something about that.
2006, we were moving into that problem.
Because we used to have a terrible budget, I believe.
Terrible cash flow.
Yeah, bad
So
cash
are
flow.
we all finished then?
Any
So
new
that's my
business?
committee report.
I have new business here. Last month, I had proposed that potentially allowing people to raise their own animals in the village for food. And I wrote something up that I would, if you want to pass these around, and to look at. And the reason I say this is because House Bill 124 is in committee right now.
Can you give that number to me again, Bryce?
House HB 124.
124, thank you.
That says towns cannot tell you that you cannot raise your own animals. So, getting a jump on that, I wrote up a set of regulations on this where people could potentially raise their own animals for food consumption, especially with what's going on right now. If you go to Walmart, there's hardly very good food on the shelf. I know some of you have not been in favor of it, but this here would help set a standard that would enable people to raise their own foods in a way that is not bothering other people. It also allows, if you look at section F of part 10 in there, of if a group would want to create a homeowners association, they could potentially do that. But the government of a town is there to be minimal and to protect the liberties of people and not to take them away. So I would hope that we could move into a way that would allow people to raise their own somewhat and deal with some of their own food waste that currently is getting thrown in the trash or something else. But I would like this to be considered, especially because of the number of people I've had talk to me about it.
You know, I have one comment. You can go out in the country, and how many people do you see raising chickens and pigs, and they're allowed to do that in the country? How do
What are you
Right.
getting at?
pardon?
What are you getting at on that?
I'm getting at, why would we want to raise animals in town when people don't even raise them in the country?
Well, I think it's one thing is called as life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Okay, Bryce, you said you've had people come to you in favor of it.
Yes, I have.
Has anybody else on council, had anybody approach you about animals being raised in town?
Not positive
You are?
things, but
I have had two, and explained to them why we didn't, and that was dropped. But in line with that, I had Mike Swinesberg contact me right after our last meeting. He had watched the video and said that, and Mike worked for Ohio State University and is the head of Paulding County 4-H.
Mhm.
And said there was a program where we could allow 4-H members to raise animals for their projects. They start about now in April, and at fair time, they have to butcher them, sell them, but get rid of them. And it's done until the next year. Anyone know if we could at least look into doing that? And I said, well, I told him what our stand was, and I said, but since you asked me, I will bring it to the council and let them decide. It's not my decision. I wanted to know a little more about it. I went to Paulding, to the administrator's office. I didn't get to talk to the administrator, he was gone. But I talked to a lady in there, and she said it does cause some problems, but not overbearing problems. She said anytime you pass something, and we all know this, there are people that are gonna abuse it. But she said most people recognize it for the kids. I talked to the administrator, village administrator in Hicksville, and he said, yeah, we have it, but they have guidelines to, adhere to. The type, they specify the type of animals. You can't have anything with a hoof, like you can have a rabbit, but you can't have a sheep or a goat. You have to be 100 foot at least to the next dwelling residence. And he said, if you have any other questions, I'll be glad to work with you. I had a copy of the ordinance that Paulding had, and when I was trying to print it off, I deleted it. So I contacted Mr. Mike, and he's supposed to send me another, but he hadn't done it yet.
Okay.
So, I'm not proposing we do it, I'm doing what I told him I would do, and I'm presenting it to the table.
He also called me and I had a conversation with him also.
Say, I'm sorry, that's at Mike Swainsburg?
Swinesburg, yes.
Okay. Do you know how that's spelled, anybody?
It's S-C-H.
I'm sorry?
S-C-H-W-E-I-N-S-B-U-R-G, I
You
think.
are? Okay. Got it.
Very, very German.
Close enough.
He had also contacted me and then he had told me that he was with the 4-H and that some of the other villages were allowing them to do it for the 4-H side. And I was like, well, when Bryce had brought it up, it was more for, growing your own food and things like that. We never even discussed the educational value of it. And I had told him, I said, well, if we get somebody from the school that comes in and says, I've got 20 students that are interested in this and they all live within the village, then we would probably have a little more case for something like that. But, unless the school wants to come in and say that they've got something for the educational value on that part, to come to council and ask us for approval on something for educational to allow it for a short term, I still wouldn't be in consideration of allowing it.
The lady at Paulding did indicate that FFA used this program as well. My problem with the 4-H program, I've had kids, and they've got a rabbit they've raised for 2 months, and this rabbit's a pet, and then the fair comes, and they gotta butcher the rabbit or get rid of it, and
They don't wanna get rid of it.
they're not gonna get rid of it.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know how they handle that, and maybe they do get rid of it, but, I asked the woman that, she kinda laughed and rolled her eyes, so I didn't get an answer, but,
I still think this is something, everybody here, who doesn't want it has the freedom to say no. The people who do want it don't have the freedom to say yes, and I don't understand why we'd want to stop them if it's well regulated from raising good food. I mean, you go to the store and it's full of pesticides and junk, and people say, I want to raise my own, and that's only going to be very few. Very few. And you're going to have a lot of people say, look, I work, I get my, I go to the grocery store, not a problem. But there's a few people who do, and that still want to live in town. And I don't understand why we're the only town around that says no.
I'm not on council, I don't have a vote, but I am gonna voice my opinion, and I'm against it. I live in town for a reason. I don't wanna live on a farm, and I don't wanna live beside animals.
But why
That's
take
my
somebody else's
opinion, and I'm
freedom away?
entitled to that.
We have cat, of course you do. And that's why you don't have them. But what
That's
about
right.
don't the other people who have, aren't they entitled to an opinion? Apparently not.
It's-
Now, back in the day, we had a grocery store. We don't have a grocery store anymore. Why take this from people?
I've asked several people in passing, and I'm not gonna mention names, several of them said, don't bring my name up at council meeting. But in passing, hey, I wanna ask you something. If we were gonna propose that people could raise within limits in town, raise animals, what would you think about that? And boy, absolutely not. That's why I live in town.
Yeah, exactly.
I just had one person ask me about it, and it was basically they wanted to know if it was allowed, and I just said no, and they said okay.
It's not like we don't live in a homeowners association. We live in a town that has minimal government. If you want a homeowners association, establish that, but everybody else should be able to do
That's
what
not-
they
We
choose.
live in a town that has ordinances. and
Right.
There's an ordinance already for that, so
Yeah.
that's what we live in. You're talking about taking away people's freedom, you're taking away, my freedom. If we pass this, I don't want my neighbor to have chickens or rabbits.
Then buy
next to
their
it.
property.
So,
Bryce,
I,
you're being difficult again tonight, I'm sorry.
Hey, that's fine.
I mean,
I
your
don't
response to
understand.
that would be moved to the country, if you're
Right.
gonna say that to him.
Yeah.
That's basically,
Okay, is that what you say to every other town?
not in
We
every
don't
other
live
town.
in
Yeah,
every,
I live
we
in the
don't
village
live
of
in
Antwerp.
every other town. We
don't
live
deal with
here,
it, no.
and we wanna keep it a town.
He can raise
Not a farm.
So magically, if you raise rabbits, you're not living in a town?
I don't know if anybody raises rabbits anymore.
I mean, there's an ordinance in place. If you wanna change it, make a motion, we'll vote on it. I mean, that's,
Maybe people should just do it anyway. We let cats run around like crazy.
We don't let cats, they just do.
No, if you don't stop them, you're letting them.
Unless we have a game warden or a
Cat warden.
the dog warden for
Dog-
that too.
No, we don't, because the dog warden's not allowed in Antwerp.
Well, we can pass an ordinance against cats if that's what you wanna do. Is that what you're saying?
I'll vote for
No.
that one.
No,
Yeah, amen.
I am not saying that. I'm saying that if we have cats, then somebody having caged chickens not a problem.
look, you have no coop or cage shall be closer than 5 feet from a property line.
Right.
I don't want a chicken coop 5 feet from my property line,
That's right, I agree.
for a lot of really
I
good
don't
reasons.
understand what is wrong with letting people
I
have
don't- I
this
don't-
do with their property.
It's because I don't wanna put up with it, I don't wanna live next to it.
The
So-
smell, the chicken,
Right.
Yeah.
crow on
I mean,
it.
You're talking about the
grandparents-
smell of
Yeah,
Antwerp?
my grandparents raised chickens, I know what that's like, I don't want that in town.
Something else that was brought up to me about when you allow the small animals like the chickens and things like that, the consequence with that is they'll pull in fox and coyote and wild dog and things like that we've got around here. If they smell that, they're gonna say, there's my next meal. So next thing you know, we'll have coyote and fox in here, and we'll have somebody's little kid out there that's by their chicken coop, and the fox ain't gonna care, or the coyote's not gonna care, and it's gonna try to chew on the kid's leg instead of the chicken leg.
That's just scare
Or
tactics,
animals.
because that is not how it works.
Well,
Cats or dogs.
Coyotes
Or,
and wild
the food
animals.
for them is gonna attract rodents. Mice and rats, and we already got too many squirrels.
We've got plenty of rabbits too.
Well, okay, I mean, it is what it is. You guys have made that clear that you don't want people to have it. We should move on. But thank you for letting me write that up and present it.
Okay.
I'll still read through this and look at it.
Oh,
I just thought it was a way to help regulate it before something happens with House Bill 124.
I know the Ohio was looking at a bill to allow people to do this, but it got shot down quickly.
I mean, Craig Riedel signed on to it. But anyhow, we should move on. We've got,
Okay, we
Other
got any
things.
old business to discuss?
I did find out about the event that they wanted to have the Kobe
Okay.
thing.
Uh-huh.
So ACDC has insurance that will cover it if we do it in the park. Like
Okay.
that's all covered by ACDC. They said that they would allow their insurance to cover it. Obviously, we agreed to clean up the park, get porta potties and all that stuff. I have like a list of events. The problem becomes they were trying to figure out days, and there's not many days based on everything that's kind of going on around there. So we don't have a date because the dates we come up with, the park was full. So they're still trying to find a date. So I'll find out more. I guess I'll find out a date about it. But they did agree, as far as the committee, to do everything that we asked them to do. Like when I went back and told them what we asked them to do. So, yeah. So basically, they're just trying to make sure that if we do find a date that works, that it's approved to have the event. So.
Okay, so what do we have to do with that, Mel? Give them permission to use the park?
I don't think we do
not
that.
until we have a date.
And I don't think we typically, I mean, I know other,
That's what I
I
mean,
know
I
other
don't know if we-
places use it, and we
Mhm.
just make
Yeah,
sure they
track
have
meets
those
and
things,
everything.
right?
Yeah, I
So
don't
usually
think we
just
need
make
council
sure.
approval as long as we have.
No, you just have to sign
and the
up,
park
and it's
day.
gotta be
Right.
available, and you have to have the
Yeah.
insurance, and you have to, you know, I think Amy had suggested doing the porta potties just because
Yes.
it was a good recommendation, not that it was
No,
anything
and I
the
explained
council
that.
had to approve.
Yeah, I explained that to them and they were all good with that. And I said, like, the cleanup of the park, obviously, I don't know if we've done various events and have, we clean up everything, find it, leave it probably cleaner than we found it. So,
I think it's just a matter of reporting back, just so everyone kinda knows, and it can be put in the minutes. it can
What
be
does
put in
someone
paper,
do
but-
to sign up? If I wanna rent the park for some reason, what?
you
what-
call April,
You call out.
call
You
April
don't rent, you
Litzenberg.
Oh, yeah,
reserve it.
yeah,
You call out and talk to April, when she's not there, I'm the one you talk to.
okay.
We have
I
a
think it
calendar, we
even
just
says
write
on
your name
that.
down.
It's on the
Yeah.
website
It's on the
too.
website, yeah.
You don't even have to live in the village, you
But
just
I
have
just
to have a
called
cell
it.
phone number.
I called April and just gave her the dates and she said they were no good because somebody had already booked it out. So but other than that, that's gonna be easy day. So.
And I think, Grace, you talked about what the chamber does, and that sounds like that kind of covered everything. It sounds like, I don't think that, I didn't go back and look at my notes from last meeting, but I think that covers kind of what you brought up, Brian.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
that's exactly, yeah, Brian did exactly right.
Yep, so check the boxes. But yeah, then if we get a date, obviously we'll let everybody know anyway, so people are aware of it, but that's kind of the only thing we're waiting on. And we were trying not to step on other events. We thought about doing it the day of Rib Fest in the morning, but the park's already taken that morning, so yeah. So we're still looking for it.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Park's a busy place,
It seems to be, yeah.
It's a nice park.
popular place.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good
very
thing.
good,
George,
very
Everybody
good.
takes care of us.
Start charging, nice. There you go, Brian.
Okay, we'll move on to my mayor's report.
Okay, say the number slowly.
Okay. Total amount for the city, for the village of Antwerp, $559.
Even.
Mhm.
Okay.
To the state, $121.50. To the indigent driver, $4.50. Total dispersed is $685.
And that was the mayor's court report.
Mayor's
right?
court report, right? And I'm finished with that, so motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion.
They don't, I will.
We're done, whoever made. the
And you
motion.
made the second then, Steve?
Yeah.
All right, Kenny Reinhardt?
Yes.
Steve Jordan?
Yes.
Bryce Steiner?
Yes.
Jason Franks?
Yep.
Dean Reister?
Yes.
And Brian Smith?
Yes.
No, I just said I